We are glad to welcome you to our channel. Kindly subscribe to our channel and share our videos with your friends and relations. And click on the bell icon for instant notification whenever new videos are uploaded on this channel. Rest assured that we are going to have a very exciting and inspiring discussion. Let's dive into the lesson right away. Welcome back to Language Lessons with Benjamin on English Classes Online. In today's episode, we are going to dive into the fascinating world of grammatical Concord, and we will be exploring the different types of Concord you need to know. By the end of this video, you will have a solid understanding of each type of Concord and be able to apply them correctly in your own speech or writing. So let's get started right away. Before we dive into the types of Concord, let's quickly understand what grammatical Concord actually means. Well, Concord simply means agreements. Grammatical concord refers to the agreement or harmony between different parts of a sentence, such as the subject and verb, or the pronoun and its antecedent. Now, it ensures that all the elements in a sentence work together correctly. So, concord is a very important aspect of the grammar of any language, and having a good understanding of the various types of concord will help you to speak and write proficiently. Okay? Now let's begin with the first type of concord, and that is subject-verb agreement. All right? Subject-verb agreement is that the grammatical rule that states that the subject of a sentence must agree with the verb in terms of number and person, okay? Here are some examples to illustrate how subject-verb agreement really works. Let's begin with the singular subject-verb agreement, right? For example, the cat jumps over the fence. Here, the singular subject cat agrees with the singular verb jumps. The second example, she plays the piano beautifully. Here, the singular subject is she, and it agrees with the singular verb plays. The next example, the book belongs to him. The singular subject book agrees with the singular verb belongs. And so this brings us to the plural verb agreement. Let's begin with the first example. The dogs bark loudly. Now the plural subject dogs agrees with the plural verb bark. The dogs bark loudly. The second example, they eat dinner together. They is the plural verb, and it agrees with the plural verb eat. Next, we have the children play in the park. The children here is a plural subject, and play is the plural verb. So you have the plural verb being used with the plural subject. So we have seen two rules of subject-verb agreement. A singular subject is used with a singular verb, while a plural subject goes with a plural verb. Okay. Now let's move on to the other types of subject-verb agreements. And so we have subject-verb agreement with compound subjects. When you have a compound subject like John and Emily, John and Emily are attending the party. The compound subject here is John and Emily, and that agrees with the plural verb are. So the rule is that when you have a plural subject, then of course, when you have a compound subject, then you should use a plural verb. Let's look at the next example. Pizza, burgers, and fries are his favorite foods. The compound subject here is pizza, burgers, and fries. And this compound subject agrees with the plural verb are. Now, the next one, my sister or my parents pick me up from school. In this example, the compound subject, my sister or my parents, agrees with the singular verb pick. Now you will see that my sister is singular, my parents is plural, but here we are applying the rule of proximity. The subject that is nearer to the verb is plural, and that is my parents. Right? My parents pick me up from the school. Now let's look at the next one, which is subject-verb agreement with indefinite nouns. Yeah, I mean indefinite pronouns, although we are still going to look at indefinite pronoun concords or agreements in a separate as a separate subtopic, but let's look at it also under subject-verb agreement. Okay, so when we look at this, the first example, let's look at the first example. Everybody loves ice cream. You know, the indefinite pronoun everybody here is the singular one, and it agrees with the singular verb loves. Another example, none of the students has completed the assignment. None here agrees with the verb has. Okay. Another example, some of the books are missing. Here, the plural verb are agrees with the plural noun books. Some of the books. Okay. Now, you need to remember that subject-verb agreement ensures that the verb matches the subject in terms of number and person. And this helps to maintain clarity and grammatical correctness in sentences. Paying attention to subject-verb agreement is essential for effective communication. Now, this brings us to the second type of concord, and that is the pronoun-antecedent agreement. Now, pronoun-antecedent agreement, which is also known as, pronoun-antecedent concord, which you can also call pronoun agreement, is the grammatical principle which requires a pronoun to agree in number and gender with its antecedent. Talking about the noun or pronoun it refers to in a sentence. Let's explore some examples to understand how it works. All right. Let's begin with singular pronoun antecedent concord. Okay, for example, the girl is reading her book. In this sentence, the singular pronoun her agrees with the singular antecedent girl. The girl is reading her book. Now, the pronoun is her, the antecedent is girl. So, you know, the pronoun must agree with its antecedent. Okay, that's the rule of concord there. Another example, each student must complete his or her assignment. And here you see that the pronoun there can also be used as a gender neutral pronoun to agree with the singular antecedent, each student. So you can say his or her assignment, and you can also say their assignment. You know, this usage is becoming increasingly common among English users. You know, gender, it is called a gender neutral pronoun. When you use their, of course, when each student could refer to a boy or a girl. So because it's not referring to a particular gender, male or female, then you can use a gender neutral pronoun. That's something that is increasingly prevailing in modern linguistics, okay? Let's look at another example. My mother cooked her favorite dish. The singular pronoun her here agrees with the singular antecedent mother. So it will be a violation of the rule of the pronoun antecedent concord if you say my mother cooked his favorite dish, because that pronoun his does not agree with the gender of mother. Okay, let's look at another example. Let's now move on to the plural pronoun antecedent concord. What happens when you have plural pronouns? Okay, for example, the children are playing with their toys. So here, the children, the plural pronoun there agrees with the plural antecedent children. The children are playing with their toys. Okay? Another example, the students submitted their homework. The students submitted their homework. In this case, the plural pronoun there agrees with the plural antecedent students. Okay? My friends offered their help. The plural pronoun there agrees with the plural antecedent friends. And so this now brings us to gender pronoun antecedent concord. All right. Let's just refer to it separately, even though we had earlier referred to it. Now, for example, John went to the park and he enjoyed his time. The masculine pronouns he and his agrees, both of them agree with the masculine antecedent John. Okay, so then let's look at another example. Sarah is an engineer and she loves her job. The feminine pronouns she and her agree with the feminine antecedent Sarah. So it's important to ensure that pronouns agree in number and gender with their antecedents to maintain clarity and grammatical correctness in sentences. Take note that failing to achieve proper pronoun antecedent concord can result in confusion or ambiguity. And of course, it results in ungrammaticality. Okay? Now let's move on to the third one, which is verb verb-tense agreement. Okay, verb-tense agreement ensures that the verb used in a sentence, of course, agrees with the intended time frame or timeline of the action. Let's take a look at some examples. Let's begin with the present tense agreement. For example, I walk to school every day. That's what actually is correct there. It will be incorrect to say I walked to school yesterday, because the tense does not agree with the timeline or the time frame. Okay. Let's look at another example. It's incorrect to say I walked to school yesterday, because you can't use the present tense to talk about a past event. Now, what is correct is for you to say, I walk to school every day. Of course, we have already seen that. Now, let's move on to past tense agreement. For example, they studied for the exam last night. That is correct. Okay, it will be incorrect to say they studied for the exam last night. They studied for the exam last night. That will be incorrect. And this brings us to future tense agreement. For example, we will travel to Paris next week. It will be incorrect to say we travel to Paris next week. You can't use the past tense to talk about a future event. Now, take note that breaking verb tense agreement can lead to confusion and inconsistencies in the timeline of events. Okay, so take notes of that. Now, this brings us to collective noun agreement. And collective noun agreement is the grammatical rule which governs the agreement between collective nouns, which of course are nouns that refer to a group of individuals as a single entity, and verbs in a sentence. When you are using collective nouns, there must be agreement between that collective noun and the verb in a sentence. Now, here are some examples to illustrate how collective noun agreement works. And so let's begin with singular collective noun agreement. So collective nouns can be singular or plural. Let's begin with the singular one. Okay. For example, the team is practicing for the championship. All right. In this sentence, the collective noun team is treated as a singular entity, so it agrees with the singular verb is. Okay, is practicing. Let's look at another example. The committee decides on important matters. The committee decides on important matters. The collective noun committee is considered as a singular unit, so it agrees with the singular verb decides. Okay. The jury reaches a verdict. Here, the collective noun jury is treated as a singular entity, so it agrees with the singular verb reaches. And this brings us to the plural collective noun agreement. Okay. For example, the staff members are attending a conference. The staff members are attending a conference. In this sentence, the collective noun staff members is considered as a group of individuals, so it agrees with the plural verb are. Okay. The audience are clapping their hands. The collective noun audience can be treated as a singular or plural, but in this case, it is treated as a group of individuals, so it agrees with the plural verb are. Now, take note that when members of a group are perceived as, taking action, for instance, when people in a group are clapping, you can't look at them as a unit anymore. Each individual member of the group is clapping his or her hands. So in this case, you look at them as individuals, and that is where you use the plural verb. Another example, the police have arrested the suspect. Okay, here the collective noun police is treated as a group of individuals, so it agrees with the plural verb have. It's important to note that collective nouns can be treated as singular or plural depending on the context and intended meaning. When treated as a singular entity, they take a singular verb, and when treated as a group of individuals, they take a plural verb. It's important to understand collective noun agreement because it helps to ensure grammatical accuracy and clarity in sentences. Now we move on to quantifier-verb agreement. What exactly is quantifier-verb agreement? It is the agreement, of course, it is the grammatical rule that governs the agreement between quantifiers, which are words that express quantity or amount, and verbs in a sentence. Here are some examples to illustrate how quantifier-verb agreement works. Let's start with the singular quantifier-verb agreement. For example, each student has a textbook. In this sentence, the singular quantifier each agrees with the singular verb has. Each car needs regular maintenance. The singular quantifier every car needs regular maintenance. The singular quantifier here is every, and it agrees with the singular verb needs. Either option is acceptable. Here, the singular quantifier either agrees with the singular verb is. And this brings us to the plural quantifier verb agreement. For example, many students attend the university. In this sentence, the plural quantifier many agrees with the plural verb attend. Several books were left on the shelf. That's another example. The plural quantifier several here agrees with the plural verb were. Both of them enjoy playing sports. Here, the plural quantifier both agrees with the plural verb enjoy. Then we come to the third type of quantifier-verb agreement, and that is quantifier-verb agreement with indefinite pronouns. Okay? For example, none of the information is accurate. The quantifier none is singular, so it agrees with the singular verb is. Some of the apples have gone bad. In this example, the plural quantifier some agrees with the plural verb have. Okay? All of the work was completed on time. Here, the quantifier all agrees with the singular verb was. It's important to ensure that quantifiers agree with verbs in terms of number, singular or plural, in order to maintain grammatical correctness and clarity in sentences. Paying attention to quantifier-verb agreement helps convey the intended meaning accurately. And now we move on to indefinite pronoun agreement. As I said, we still have to look at indefinite pronoun agreement as a separate subtopic. All right. When indefinite pronouns are used as subject, they must agree in number with the verb that follows. And so let's look at examples. Let's begin with the singular indefinite pronouns. Singular indefinite pronouns, such as each, everyone, nobody, normally take singular verbs. For example, everyone is responsible for their own action. Because I earlier explained the use of the gender-neutral pronoun there, okay? You can as well say everyone is responsible for his or her actions. But when you say their own actions, then you are using what in modern linguistics is referred to as gender-neutral pronoun, and that is there, because everyone could be male or female. So because you cannot say his and you cannot say her, then you can either use everyone is responsible for his or her own actions, or you can say everyone is responsible for their own actions. Now, some people frown at this use, but it is gaining currency in modern linguistics. Okay, it is increasingly being used in modern linguistics. This brings us to plural indefinite pronouns, such as all, several, both, and so on. And they usually take plural verbs. For example, all are invited to the event. All are invited to the event. Okay. Now, some indefinite pronouns can be singular or plural depending on the context of use. For example, some of the cake has been eaten. This is singular because cake itself can be seen as uncountable. So uncountable nouns are usually singular. So some of the cake. Another example, some of the students have arrived. This is plural because students are countable. So when you say some of the students, then you are using a plural indefinite pronoun. All is well is singular because all is well. This refers to singular. All are invited to the event, as we earlier saw, is of course plural. So it's important to ensure subject-verb agreement when using indefinite pronouns to maintain grammatical correctness in sentences. Okay. There are other examples such as another has arrived. Any, for example, is any available to help me? Anyone can participate. Nobody knows tomorrow, and so on and so forth. Now, let's move on to compound subject agreements. Okay. When there is more than one subject, these work together as plural subjects. So the verb is plural. Okay. For example, it is correct to say Tony and Austin are colleagues. It will be wrong to say Tony and Austin is colleagues, because when you have a compound subject, you have to use a plural verb. Already we saw this under subject-verb agreement. Okay. There are exceptions, and we want to look at them. Now, the first exception is when both subjects are the same person or thing. For example, it is incorrect to say our new chairman and managing director have arrived because the chairman is the managing director and the managing director is the chairman. They are not two persons. It's one person. So you can't use the plural verb. Okay? And the correct thing is to say our new chairman and managing director has arrived because both subjects refer to the same person. Okay? Let's look at another exception. When two things are always linked together in people's minds to the point where, when spoken about together, we think of them as one thing. For example, fried rice and chicken are my favorite dinners is correct. I mean, it's incorrect, please. I beg your pardon, because fried rice and chicken refers to the same dish. They are not two different items. Okay. So you can see here that the correct thing is fried rice and chicken is my favorite dinner. We always think of fried rice. We always think of fried rice and chicken as one dish, even though they are different things and can be eaten separately. When we refer to them together as being one thing, we use the singular verb is. So fried rice and chicken is my favorite dinner. Moving on, we want to look at number 8, which is measurement concord. And when talking about measurements of time, money, amount, or distance, the correct thing is to use a singular verb, even if the measurement is plural. Don't forget that we use all kinds of measurements in our speech and writing. So it's important to know how to make the verb agree with the measurement we are describing. Now let's look at some examples. 6 months are not enough for us to complete the project. This is incorrect. Okay. The correct thing is to say 6 months is not enough for us to complete the project. Another example, $200 are not enough to settle all the bills. This is incorrect. The correct thing is $200 is not enough to settle all the bills. Okay? And this brings us to the last, but not the least, type of concord, and that is what we call pronoun case agreement. All right? The pronoun case is that form of pronoun that is used as a subject, an object, or a possessive. All right? So it is important to know which case of the pronoun to use in a sentence, especially when 2 or more pronouns are used together. Let's look at some examples. It's incorrect, for example, to say she and me are members of the committee. All right? The correct thing is she and I are members of the committee. In the first sentence, she is a subjective pronoun, whereas me is an objective pronoun, so the two do not agree. The second sentence is correct because both she and I are subjective pronouns and are therefore correctly used in the subject position. Let's look at another example. Him and me are good friends, right? Again, this is incorrect. The correct thing is he and I are good friends. The first sentence is incorrect because him and me are objective pronouns and cannot agree with the verb when used as subjects in a sentence. The second sentence is correct because he and I are correctly used as subjects and they agree with the verb are. He and I are good friends. And this brings us to the end of today's lesson. Many thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward to always seeing you in the new video.